Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive right into a seriously fascinating historical pivot, how America morphed from a nation that just wanted to be left entirely alone into the dominant architect of the modern global order. We literally live in a world designed by one country. So understanding how we got here, it's absolutely vital to making sense of the geopolitics we see on the news every single day. Let's get into it.
So, to kick things off, let's address a really common assumption. Has the United States always possessed this burning desire to run the world? It's super easy to look at things today and just assume America was always aiming to be the supreme global heavyweight.
But the answer, surprisingly, is a massive, resounding no. Actually, for the first 70 years of its existence, and honestly, well beyond that, American leaders had a fierce anti-imperialist bent. They heavily favored isolationism. Many of them actively worried that getting involved in global politics would just lead to these messy, endless entanglements. They quite literally just wanted to stay hidden behind their two oceans and be left alone.
Moving on to Section 1, Defining a Superpower, the 3 pillars of global dominance.
Now, before we trace how America's big pivot actually happened, we need to establish what a superpower even is. True superpower status relies on 3 main pillars. First up, military might. We're talking a massive force capable of projecting power anywhere, backed by superior tech and global bases. Second, economic strength. You need a high GDP, low unemployment, and a massive industrial base. And third, international influence. That's the political gravity to build alliances, sway other nations, or if things go south, impose crippling economic sanctions.
All right, Section 2, the reluctant giant, flirting with power, retreating to isolation.
So, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, America experienced this crazy sort of historical whiplash. In 1898, the U.S. won a war against the Spanish Empire in just 6 weeks, picking up territories like Puerto Rico and Guam. The whole world suddenly realized, wow, America can raise an army overnight. But what did America do? Well, they quickly lost interest and just slashed the size of their military. Then, in 1917, they entered World War I, scaling from under 130,000 soldiers to 4 million in a single year, basically tipping the scales of the entire conflict. Yet, when the dust settled, politicians rejected the League of Nations, which, by the way, was a body they actually proposed, and retreated right back into isolation.
Let's look at Section 3, the catalyst, the awakening of the sleeping giant.
As the world plunged into the Second World War, a permanent shift occurred. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who had actually spent a lot of time in the U.S., deeply understood its vast industrial capabilities. He famously warned that attacking the U.S. wouldn't secure an easy victory, but would instead awaken a sleeping giant. And, well, on December 7, 1941 at Pearl Harbor, Japan did exactly that.
And Yamamoto was absolutely right. The awakened U.S. rapidly mobilized its 150 million citizens. By 1945, the military exploded from just 1.4 million to over 12 million personnel. Factories that had literally just sat empty during the Great Depression were retooled for war, running round the clock. And crucially, they developed a secret weapon that would alter world history forever, the atomic bomb.
Now, what's really striking about the aftermath of the war is the sheer scale of physical devastation it left behind. London saw 70,000 buildings destroyed. Berlin and Dresden, they had 80 to 90% of their city centers completely leveled. In Tokyo, a single firebombing raid destroyed 25% of the city and killed an estimated 100,000 people. The industrial and civilian centers of all the old world powers were just reduced to ashes.
But here's the absolutely crucial contrast you need to take away. While Europe and Japan faced widespread physical and economic ruin, the uniquely protected United States mainland remained completely untouched. Actually, America's industrial production doubled during the war. They added $47 billion to their GDP, and unemployment plummeted to 1.2%. So, the U.S. emerged vastly wealthier and way more technologically advanced than anyone else on the planet. This brings us to Section 4, Architects of the New World, Building the Modern Global System.
With its unmatched wealth and sole possession of nuclear weapons, the U.S. was at a massive crossroads. But unlike after World War I, they decided not to retreat. Instead, they actively constructed a whole new world order from the ground up. They spearheaded the United Nations to prohibit wars of conquest. Down at Bretton Woods, they established the IMF and World Bank as the backbone of a new global financial system. And through the Marshall Plan, they pumped billions into financially rebuilding their devastated Western European allies.
But, a new challenge quickly arose. This American commitment to global leadership deepened drastically as their former ally, the Soviet Union, sought to create communist buffer states in Eastern Europe. The U.S. saw this as a direct threat to a free trading world, leading to a massive new strategy: containment. The goal? Exactly what it sounds like: contain the spread of communism everywhere on the globe.
To actually enforce containment, the U.S. couldn't just pack up and go home. They had to keep their massive World War II military machine running. They formed military alliances like NATO to block Soviet expansion. They got pulled into complex alliances with countries like Saudi Arabia, Israel, and South Korea. And they began intervening, often secretly, in dozens of countries, from Iran to Afghanistan and Nicaragua. Suddenly, America found itself deeply involved in every single corner of the earth.
And finally, Section 5, the future. Will America step back?
When the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed in the 1990s, the massive threat that justified all this global infrastructure basically vanished. But Presidents Bush and Clinton actively chose to keep this global system intact. Today, the U.S. still acts as the world's primary superpower, boasting over 800 military bases and accounting for a massive 37% of all global military spending. The infrastructure built for the Cold War, it remains fully operational today.
However, maintaining this order is not easy, and America now faces some incredibly serious modern headwinds. We're seeing staggering national debt and a trade deficit that just keeps increasing year after year. Internally, political divisions are widening, making any kind of compromise incredibly difficult. And externally, there's the rapid rise of China, which now wields the world's second-largest economy, the largest army, and a rapidly modernizing military force. So in recent years, we've even seen American political leaders actively question the core pillars of the 75-year-old strategy, debating the value of NATO, the benefits of free trade, and the heavy cost of protecting allies. So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. Will America continue to uphold and fund the sprawling global order it engineered from the ashes of World War II? Or is the pendulum swinging back, pulling the U.S. toward its deeply rooted isolationist past? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.